when you hit that.
He has time.
He's
Off
got
the
him.
left side. Dobbs is there. Leaping grab. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this iteration of Ken and Ken in the morning. Well, how are you doing today, Ken?
It's Tuesday. I'm on the right side of the dirt, and it's warming up here in Florida. So us southern people had a cold snap. I'm sure Rob can tell you we had a cold snap this weekend, but the sun's coming out. It's getting warm. It's going to be riding time pretty soon.
It's like 80 degrees here, 75. Something.
You don't know what cold is yet until you see some frost. I'm just saying.
And I got enough cold weather up here for everybody in the group.
Well, you and Dominic can share the cold weather. Isn't that right there, Dominic?
Man, I hate this cold weather. It needs to go. Sun's out though, so.
Hola, mi amigos.
Hey,
What's up, Isaac?
Good morning.
Yo, good morning.
Isaac
my
being,
coffee,
of course,
too.
fashionably about 1 minute late because that's how he rolls.
Yeah, that's how I do, you know.
Hello there.
What's up, Yoli?
Yoli. So, guys, it's the off season, and off season topics can get a little scarce at time. And the NFL has been kind of strange the last couple of years. We cold in Chicago, I bet. But the off season, like last year, we kind of were excited for certain things to happen, like the June 1st cuts last year, right? And then we end up with one cut. And it was the one cut everyone knew was going to happen 6 months prior to it, right? So here we are. Postseason, we expect to see some cap casualties already. The only team that really cut anyone has been Chicago, cutting Eddie Jackson and Cody Whitehair. We expect to see maybe some signings, right, of people's free agents, right? The only team that signed anyone so far has been the Detroit Lions, signed some dude out of the CFL that no one's ever heard of. No one's placed a franchise tag, a transition tag. No one's made any trades. It's been kind of a barren wasteland. But that being said, let us put on our wizard recaps and look into the future and ask this question. Is Campbell a surprise cut candidate there in Green Bay? Ken, what say you?
Why? Absolutely. I think he is, to me at least. This past year that he had, granted, he had a bunch of injuries and all, but was his worst year statistically as a pro since he was a rookie. And then on top of it, you had him making statements in the media that either could have been directed towards fans or his coaches. It was left a little open-ended, but you assume it was the coaches. But either way, you don't like to see that. And getting rid of him, I think we end up with a net positive of like $2 million, and with us accelerating those void year contracts, those three players the past couple of days, we kind of need to free up some money here soon.
Yeah, right. we did have the void contracts yesterday, which we talked about pre-show. Rob, what were the three?
It was Savage, Kassan Nixon, and Josh Nyman. They're all their contracts ended basically. So
was there a savings?
They're now free agents. They're now free agents.
So there was no savings on the cap for that. They're just free agents now.
No. The cap hit that they had that was extended for a couple of years all got forwarded in this year's cap.
Yeah,
so I guess,
what was the dead cap? 11 mil for that?
With somewhere between 9 and 11 million. I've seen reports to both.
So Rob, where are you on? I mean, $2 million, saving $2 million to cut Campbell doesn't seem like I mean, 2
Well,
million is like pocket change, right? Unless
honestly,
you really
he's still got. I mean, if they cut him, it's just because they're cutting. They want to free the space up. He's still under contract for another year. We would have to replace him if we cut him. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence with him. I mean, when he's healthy and he's playing, he's like a pretty good force in the middle. He has been, but he had a down year this year. And honestly, the whole Joe Barry thing, he did come out and pop off. And honestly, you're not a star free agent. You should watch what you say. That'll get you cut when you open your mouth. So, but I'm on the fence with him. I mean, it's just like Savage. I'm on the fence with Savage, bringing him back. I mean. But Campbell's the topic, so I mean, I like the guy. I think he's got a nasty fight in him, but like last year, he was out a lot.
I think he only played.
And when he did play, he just wasn't as effective as he's been. So,
I mean, Isaac, we saw in Chicago, Chase Claypool called out the OC. All of a sudden, he went from being the darling of preseason to get him out of Chicago. So I understand, calling a player out, but Campbell ended up being right? You guys fired Joe Barry.
Oh, yeah, no, he was right.
So, Isaac, I mean, taking that into account, though, maybe that would give you more reason to keep Campbell because he obviously saw the problem. He understood the assignment.
Well, it's the way Packers are trending. We're going younger, right? And Campbell's just getting up there in age. When we picked him up, we were in need of inside linebackers. Now I think that we can draft, somebody in that area. We have someone that's efficient in Quay Walker, even though Quay Walker has his little things against him, like, pushing assistant coach or whatever. That's all behind him. He's been really solid for us. And we have guys like Isaiah McDuffie. We got other players that can fill roles within Hafley's new system. So Campbell seems like the odd man out. His injuries are really a concern now because of his age. Like if he was younger, I wouldn't be too concerned about, this injury that happened to him this season. But since he's, getting a little bit older and older, he's definitely a cut candidate and we can replace. That's what Goot wants to do. He wants to go younger, almost all positions. So that's what he's going to continue to do.
True.
Well, it's not just his age. You said that he
I like him too, man.
He definitely missed 6 games. His best year was 2021. After that, he's been declining. So when he's getting paid, I don't blame you guys for looking a different route. You know what I mean? But
yeah, he plateaued. Plateaued, and we can't use him. I mean, granted, we can use him in some situations. That depends on Hafley and what he sees in the defense. That's all up to him. But I just don't see Campbell returning because Goot just wants to go young, and he's not that guy.
Right,
now,
but you got to have somebody to replace him, like you said, too.
Right, yeah. That's the thing is we got to replace him, man.
He'll be a starter.
That's always that's always what we got the draft and free agency for. But I was going to go to Dominic because Dominic, I mean, obviously you're repping the Dirty Birds, but we know you dip your toe into that Green Bay sludge they call beer. Especially we heard you had some of that beer last night. Maybe we won't go into that, but you dip your toe into the Green Bay well a little bit. So where do you think on Campbell? I mean, are you agree with these guys? It's because to me and maybe to Mike the Bear fan, this sounds a lot like the Cody Whitehair discussion we had about 2 weeks ago. So where are you on this?
He's gone. They're gonna go younger, like Isaac said, because he missed 6 games. His stats dipped. They dipped bad. Like I understand 6 games, but still the stats. That's where you got to look. Is this production worth it? And in the comments, I seen after June 1st cut, they'll gain 10.5 mil. Why not go younger?
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's where the funny thing with the Bears is they could have saved even more money had they waited till June 1st to cut Whitehair and Eddie Jackson. So maybe with Green Bay, it's just sometimes those cuts happen though for a reason. Pre-June. Yeah. First, right?
Deadline football. That's what this is.
Yeah,
Deadline football.
Well, it's the roster bonuses, right? So if you have a March roster bonus, they'd rather take the dead cap than pay the guy a $10 million roster bonus or a $3 million roster bonus. But it sounds like to me Campbell's as good as kind of like a Cody Whitehair situation. Hey, thank you for your service. You did well for us. Your numbers are obviously in decline, and we're going young. Does that about
his
sum it up?
his number declined because he was injured. If you look back at his previous years, he stayed healthy for most of his career. 2016 was his other year he was injured. Other than that, he didn't miss a game until 2022.
Yeah, age just catches up with you, man. That's the thing about this sport, bro. You get aged out no matter what.
Right, but sometimes you can't just eat that dead cat. You know what I mean? It is 11.6. I did look it up. I'm not saying it's a ton, but 11.6 when you're like at 40 million, you know, it's a difference.
Yeah, because the Bears dead cap is like 10.6 right now in total. So 11 mil dead cap on one player. It's actually kind of significant. That's more than a couple teams, you know, out. I mean, I know the Bears are 10, and that's high compared to, you know, I can't remember what team it is. I was looking at the other day. There's a team whose dead cap is like $256K. So 11 mil is pretty significant when you're talking dead cap these days. You know, 11 mil is a running back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or a linebacker.
It's a couple rookie contracts.
Yeah. So also yesterday, and I don't know if this will affect Campbell in a positive way or negative way. So the report is, and I don't have a slide for it, unfortunately, but it's kind of that we're talking about. I'll bring it in. You know, they're saying that the salary cap go up 19.5 million this year.
Yeah. Everybody's getting that. Everybody's getting that extra money. I was wondering what the number was. I didn't hear what the number was. I knew it was going to be higher.
Yeah, well,
that's a lot of money. 19 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, you see all these new deals that the NFL is doing, and we're using this streaming one to stream this game, and that, you know, they're getting cuts of all this shit.
Yeah.
Well, the revenue sharing, Ken is right. The revenue sharing is a huge part, and I think there's multiple reasons for that. But like, for instance, though, with this 19.5, guys, that puts the Bears over 80 million now. That puts the Packers out of the red and into the green without even touching Bakhtiari's contract. Yep. So it changes some of the conversation we had last Friday as far as like the revenue sharing. Now you see why they're doing a game in Barcelona and why they're going to do a game in Brazil. Where is it? Brazil, which that one's the craziest because that's like a 15-hour flight. It's ridiculous. The flight needs some rest, that's the one that's really going to hurt players. Europe is 6-7 hours from the East Coast, whatever, depending where.
Well, yeah, they're probably going to have it be two teams that just came off the bye week
or going on the bye or
like there's no way he's just going to go, hey, take this long ass fight, go play, take a little nap, and then go back home and play.
But I mean, not to go down that rabbit hole of the logistics of that game, the you know, just specifically the money of that game. That's what creates, you know, the NFL is going to make a shit ton of money for a game in wherever it's going to be in Brazil, Sao Paulo, wherever it is. I mean, that one game might as well be like the revenue they'll generate there is probably worth 5 or 6 home games in the States. I mean, so as they keep making, you know, increasing that revenue stream and now getting TV deals in other countries, right? So, like, if you took our discussion last week about NFL Europe, and we're not going to get back into the whole discussion, but by proxy, though, if you look at the not the actual putting a team in Europe piece, but by proxy now, with us playing so many games, now they're creating a market for Europeans to buy in on an NFL season ticket package to watch the NFL every week from Europe. So all that revenue stream is going right into our ownership's back pockets, i.e., in terms of salary cap.
Hey, anytime we can increase this salary cap, I'm all for it. Because we all know what it's like when we need a player or two, and you're just so tight against it, you're not able to get the guys that you want. And now that we're clearing this up, I think we'll be able to pull in a few extra guys out of this. And this might actually give Goot an extra reason to go out and get himself a couple free agents.
Yeah, this definitely stimulates free agency. Definitely stimulates free agency.
Yeah, one of the guys.
Stimulus package. It's a stimulus package. We're used to that.
It's a stimulus package.
Fire players.
One of the guys. Real quick. I was going to say, one of the guys I've been banging my fist over the table for. I mean, I know Tampa will find a way to keep him, but if we can get Devin White.
Devin White. Yeah, Devin White.
He's exactly what we need. Our run defense desperately needs a guy like that. to be alongside Quay Walker to stop the run, because that's what Green Bay's Achilles heel has been against the run. And Hafley, he definitely changes things up with the 4-3, defense, to go against the run. But if we can get a guy like Devin White to be our key centerpiece next to Quay Walker, then running on Green Bay is going to be a difficult thing to do.
Hey, real quick, a different segue, but Billy Defense Flores says it's 58 and sunny right now. He's on Michigan Avenue and 9th Street, 75 stories up, looking inside of Soldier Field. So obviously the weather can't be that cold in Chicago if he's 75 stories up and it's 58 degrees and sunny. Billy, good to have you on here as always, brother. Hopefully we can get you on the show one morning from 75 stories up to show us that amazing view. Isaac, you bring up a great point though, because, and this is kind of like, I won't segue into that next topic yet, but it would be a perfect segue when you're talking about linebackers in the run game, because actually I will segue because it works. Because like if Campbell's going to be gone, makes sense. If you look at the Bears last year, not this season, we just ended the season before when we traded Roquan Smith. It was a different argument, but not different. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we were getting production out of Roquan, but it was money, right? And we jettisoned Roquan, and we ended up keeping Jack Sanborn, who was an undrafted free agent rookie, right, from Wisconsin, and then signed one of his Wisconsin teammates and another linebacker. And look how the run defense in Chicago changed. And if you look at this trade a year later, these are the three main players involved. Okay, because Sanborn was already on roster. For the price of what Roquan Smith cost on the far right, and there's his stats from that first year, from his the first full season in Baltimore, compared to Edmonds and Edwards, who cost less money combined. Actually, if you took the two of them plus Jack Sanborn, that equals out to Roquan Smith, contract-wise. But look at the Bears.
I think TJ Edwards really filled in and really did a really good job on, the low cost your point of view. Roquan is definitely one of those guys that, because he made an all-pro. I mean, he made an all-pro this season. There's an argument to be made to keep him around, but at the same time, TJ Edwards really did a good job filling into his position and producing. So, yeah, you guys didn't really have a drop off from losing Roquan, which is a good job by the Bears.
So, I think Campbell, because it ties in with Campbell, when you look at these guys and the money you pay them, a lot of guys tend to think, well, we've got to pay a guy big money. But, I mean, Edwards was big money compared, he wasn't as big as Roquan. He was 75 mil. Edwards was like 15 or 20, and then Sanborn's like a penny on the dollar, comparatively speaking. You look at those three in the linebacking core, look how the Bears' rush defense went from worst to first, right? And those three were a big part of it. Now, the interior line improved with Gervin this year, Gervin Dexter Sr., but, the linebacking core is a big piece of your run defense. So if Campbell transitioning back to Campbell, if it might pay off to go sign a younger guy who's on another team who you can get for similar or less money, and you may see an increase in not no drop off, but an actual increase. So
that's what I'm seeing that we might do. Is I think we're going to get a free agent that's either going to be a middle linebacker to replace Campbell, or it's going to be a safety. And whichever one that we don't get, that's what we're going to favor more heavily in the draft. Because we got to give this new defensive coordinator pieces. He's already got, I was going to say, he's already got talent there, but we don't know if it's going to fit his defense yet. And we want him to be able to get his guys too to maximize it, because I love the sound of his defense and want to see what this is going to look like with his guys running in it too.
So, and Dominic, now your team, defense, Atlanta to me is like, I don't want to say the Detroit of the 80s, because you guys remember the Detroit. Wait, Rob, you remember Detroit. Well, Isaac, you too, probably.
Yeah, I remember.
You guys
Wayne Fonts era, the Wayne Fonts era.
Yeah, it was like 1 week they'd come in and they would completely just thoroughly kick your ass.
Yeah.
And then the next week they'd come in and get their ass handed to them 18 different ways on a silver platter. I mean, that team
And
was
then on a
so
golden
up and
disc on
down.
Sunday, like
Yeah, they were like, one week you're like, oh, they're a playoff contending or a Super Bowl contending team. The next week they're like, oh yeah, they're going to have the worst record in the league. To me, Atlanta kind of has a lot of that feel. It's like Atlanta. It's hard to predict an Atlanta game, a win or a loss against Atlanta, because which Atlanta am I going to get? Now, obviously, with the head coach change. Yeah. So defensively, I mean, you have guys like Campbell that are on your bubble. They're like, well,
I'm not going to say Campbell. I don't think we're looking for a linebacker.
Like Campbell.
We're also looking for an edge. So, I've been reading lately like an edge rusher.
But like, who's your cap cut that you think right now in Atlanta that we could talk about? Like, the Bears already ruined it for me. They cut their guys already.
Well, we had what's his name, Cordero Patterson. He just got voided. His contract got voided.
I'm wondering, that's definitely one guy I would say, because you got Algiers and you got Bijan. So I mean, and honestly, I think he stepped back. Patterson, he's not the shifty.
Yeah, he ain't the guy he used to be.
Right.
Age is up and all of that factors in. Like every other team, we're trying to go young. I'd want to say Jeff. I can't say his last name. Adoku. I can't say his last name right, but yeah, Adoku. I believe he's gonna get cut because he showed up for a few games and then he was butt cheeks.
Kind of disappeared.
Cordero
Patterson is interesting, and I think Atlanta kind of
Arthur Smith didn't use him last year really either.
Well, they screwed up with them, and look, it's not their fault. It's the same trap that the Bears had with Devin Hester when we had Hester. Like,
just keep him what he's good at. That's all you need to do. Trying to do too much with that. Same thing with the Keyshawn Nixon with the Packers, man. Same thing.
Like, I mean, when Cordero Patterson, when the Bears let him go, and he went to Atlanta, I'm like, man, what a mistake. Because as a return guy, the guy is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But then
out of this world, it's just crazy.
But then now we got to make him a running back. And I get it. At the time you didn't have a running back.
Yep.
But then it's like, okay, but don't pay him running back money. Like, and don't take this guy off returns. That's what made him special.
Yeah. They didn't use him this year, I don't think, on returns.
No.
Probably once or twice.
No, that's what I mean. That's the guy. That would be my cut. That's because they took him away from all that shit.
The Joker? What type of joke is that? Like,
they do that sometimes. You know what I mean? They want to increase, because if you remember Devin Hester, the best return man ever, I believe.
Yep,
all of a sudden wanted receiver money. And I said it the whole time. He don't deserve receiver money. You're a return man. You're not a number one. You're not a number two receiver. Maybe a slot, but
well, that's because they were supposed to use him in a screen, like get him open in space, hit him with the ball, and then he was supposed to do his magic like he did. On return. It's like it's easier said than done.
True, but you don't get the salary contract of a receiver is my point.
I mean, you can.
I agree.
If you've got a top end return guy like a Hester or a Patterson, can you justifiably pay them more money as a return guy? Well, yeah, because they do change the game, right? If I know that Cordero Patterson, it's like the average return in the NFL, let's take arguments 10 yards, right? That's the average return, and you got a guy who's averaging 25 or 30. Well, yeah, you can pay him the money because he's giving you 20 or 30 yards of field extra over everyone else in the league almost every time he touches the ball. I mean, look at Cordero Patterson could wreck games by himself on a return.
Field position is very key.
Yeah.
So he was wide receiver and running back too, so that's dual.
But see, that's the thing is that they want you to think that these guys have to have these dual positions.
They don't.
And they don't. If they're just as special at returns, they should stay. That's the problem we have with Keyshawn Nixon. That's why he's not signed right now, because he wants cornerback money, but he's also our return guy. You know what I'm saying? I love him as our return guy, and even some instances he's pretty good in the secondary. But now we're at that where is he worth this kind of money? And
that's just it. Like, he's not worth shutdown corner money.
Exactly.
But he's worth probably $5 to $6 million easy as a returner. So Devin Hester was the same way. And I hate when they say, well, look at the mentality when they're receiving a kick or a punt is different than when you're receiving a pass in the game, right? So they always expect, well, we'll just recreate the magic, like Rob said, but it never happened. So like Cordero Patterson was probably worth the contract he initially got, but then they mess up by going, well, we got to recreate that magic on offense with them. How many times has that ever worked, ever, in the history of football?
I think the only one that was an amazing return man and player was Sanders.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Deion's,
wait,
a
you
unicorn.
could make the case for Antoine Randall.
Mm-hmm.
Deion's a unicorn, though.
You know who's
definitely.
pretty good too? What's his name on the Vikings? The one, the team with AP. He was a wide receiver and / a return man. He did pretty well for him.
Didn't Shady do returns?
Yep.
Yeah, Shady was
a
legit running back and a returner, I thought.
But a lot of times, though, those guys, like, they do, once they get to that running back, then they don't do returns anymore.
Yeah, once
if they become special, they don't do returns, right?
Oh yeah, you're
another
too valuable
factor.
to the team at that point.
Yeah.
You can't afford a bad hit on a return, man. A 90 miles an hour collision.
And
Another key
Deion,
factor you got to look into is the agents too. The agents, like, if you deal with a specific agent, he's going to be looking for money. You know what I mean? So,
Deshaun Jackson, there's the one.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell we didn't mention him.
Yeah.
yeah, but that, like, returning, though,
He's
actually
special.
hampered, but he's also a cautionary tale because, so, like, even Eric Metcalf, these guys hurt their running back.
Metcalf. Yeah, Metcalf. Holy shit.
By returning, but like when we talk about Deion, remember Deion Claus hit 300 in Cincinnati. Deion was a unicorn, right? I mean, we're not going to see guys like Deion and Bo anymore. A, because the leagues will never allow it to happen. But B, those guys were just freaky special. We were blessed that they both came about the same time, and we got to watch them both on Sundays and during the week in baseball. I mean, both those guys. We probably won't see that again.
I forgot about Charles Woodson.
But but those guys, but Charles Woodson, though,
we still did use him decently on punt returns.
Yeah, but he wasn't every day.
Oh,
that's
no. It was only important scenarios where we were using them.
That's who I was thinking on the Vikings. Percy Harvin.
Percy
Harvin.
Forgot about Mr.
I
Knight.
respect to him though, right?
There's probably a lot of guys you just mentioned them. We might remember, but
yeah, he was good in the return game, and he was good as a wide receiver.
Percy Harvin, yeah, bro.
That's a throwback right there.
Percy was electric. It's just terrible that he had that migraine problem.
Yeah.
Hey, did Ocho Cinco do returns? He did punt returns, right? Ocho Cinco?
Yeah, Ocho Cinco did.
What didn't he do? Ocho Cinco also kicked field goal.
That was awesome.
And Ocho Cinco, think about Ocho Cinco. When most NFL players retire, a lot of some of them will go into broadcasting, right? Ocho Cinco went to broadcasting, just in a whole different sport. He's on the Fox coverage team for the World Cup. I mean, he was actually in control. Well, a lot of people don't understand that Ocho Cinco is a massive soccer fan. He had designs of wanting to play professional soccer, but he covers soccer for Fox. So I mean, Ocho Cinco is another one of those guys who's just
he's a Madden's rated adjuster.
Don't forget
Sport.
Odell Beckham Jr. too with the Giants. Yeah. He was a return man and wide receiver for them. So. He was a dual guy that did that, and he started doing it for the Rams.
Yeah, so it's not that there's not these guys; it's just that we forget about who's ever returning these punts.
Well, because they don't specialize. I think at the end of the day, that's because they don't specialize. They branch out. We don't remember Deshaun Jackson as a return guy. We remember him as a running. We remember these guys for the other position. Devin Hester, you remember as
I'll never forget Devin Hester. I mean, to me, he's like one of the greatest returners, in the game. So,
here's a key guy that we missed, Darren Sproles.
I was thinking of him,
though, but he wasn't
a starter,
was he? Well, Sproles, you remember him as a running back, not as a return guy. Cordero Patterson, I thought, was the next guy that you would remember as a return guy. He is a guy that if he did nothing but returns, you would always remember Cordero Patterson as well as a return guy. But all these other guys we named, and they all had some success as kick
I even think LT even did returns in his early years.
Yep.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, though, they're all remembered as different positions. You know, like their home position. Like I think Cordero Patterson, they kind of fucked up. They should just make him a return guy. And I think he'd still be on the roster. He'd still be making money, good money, because he's a guy as a returner. You know, you look at him and you look at Devin Hester, you're like, because when we had him in Chicago, it's like, wow, we got the next Devin Hester already.
That's
you need
presence too.
Desmond Howard for sure. Yeah, when he was electric, especially that year for the Packers.
This is where I thought the one commenter was going to go with the Browns one was Josh Cribbs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Cribbs.
Oh, Cribbs. Yeah.
Awesome.
But like these are guys though, like Cribbs even you don't remember him as a returner. Cordero Patterson should have just been a returner, and that's the big point. Like there are a couple guys in this league. I think Devin Hester showed it. That look,
Devin Hester, you didn't want to kick to him. If you kicked to him, you risked him going. So I mean, that was the thing. Yeah, respect. Yeah, respect, bro.
One guy we had going too is Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb was.
Oh yeah, Randall Cobb. Yeah.
Came in off the gate as a returner and wide receiver and was successful in both.
Yeah.
But then eventually he transitioned to being just a receiver, though, and that's what most of these guys do.
They get old and fragile.
Well, I think it takes guts. I think it takes guts for a coach, though, to say you're just a kick return guy and that you're just going to return kick. And for some guys, for the Bears, we have a guy right now in Jones. Like as a receiver, I don't like him. As a field player, I don't like him. As a return guy, okay, he muffed his very first kick. Actually, muffed his first two, I think. But after that, he hasn't. You know what I'm saying? He's been really good. He's been above average. He's been above the NFL average as a return guy. So I'm like, okay, Ryan Poles, if
Dante Hall.
Jones, Dante Hall. Jones, like with the Bears, like just keep Jones, but don't let this guy touch the field. Like make him just a straight return guy. Because as a return guy, I see Jones as having value for the Bears. As a running back, either running the ball or blocking the ball, blocking for another back or quarterback protection, I see him as having no value for the Bears. But as a return guy, he's definitely value added. And I think teams make that mistake when they cut, because a guy like Jones will probably get cut because he's not a good running back or a good receiver. But he's a hell of a good return guy.
So sometimes you don't know what you got till you get a guy on the field and see what he can do.
Yeah. But with Bellis, like you said, he muffed his first two punts. And I'm going to have to disagree with you a little bit there, Ken, because he's definitely not above average. I will go check out the stats in a second, but I don't think he was average at all. I think anybody can step into his position, him as a player, and do just as good, if not better.
I think another factor that comes into this is the coordinator, right? Like if you get a new coordinator, he might not want the player to be, returning punts or, doing this. He might want him in a different position.
True. So, us Bear fans, we've had a new offensive coordinator every year differently for the past, I'm going to say like 6 years or so. We did have our last one, but he didn't call the plays the year before all of them. He took over at the end, but he didn't take all year to do the play calling.
Well,
so really, he never had the same offensive coordinator.
It's funny though, like for most teams, who's the assistant head coach? The special teams coach, right? So you think the special teams coach would be able to put a bug in the head coach's ear and go, hey, you can't have Cordero Patterson on offense, dude. You just leave him with kick and punt.
Well, I think that's
Belly
Arthur Smith was calling
this decision of I'm going to do what I want with my players, and you're going to like it because you're my assistant.
Right, but the argument though in that room is the battle there is the OC versus the special teams coach, right, for control of that player, and the head coach is arbitrator, and every time the OC seems to win that argument. But it's like, guys, look at the second most. The guy who's always named as the interim coach when you get fired during the season is your special teams coach, right? And a lot of guys who become head coaches were special teams guys. They're usually, whatever that reason, I don't know. They're maybe the smartest, I don't know. But they're the least talked about group, but they're probably one of the most important groups on a team that we never talk about. Special teams is a massive impact. Devin Hester is, you can just point to that special teams group with Devin Hester. Right, and show how important special teams are, and that's not just on return, but on coverage, right?
On coverage, I was going to say coverage is another.
And coverage too. So,
Yeah, I think
like,
anybody was going to.
why
gonna
don't they
say-
give more deference to these special teams coaches when they say, like, hey, we should keep this Cordell Patterson on the roster because as a return guy, he gives you an extra 20 yards of field position every time. Hey, you should keep this linebacker because, yeah, he's not going to ever be a linebacker, but he's
But
a
who makes
gunner.
but who makes that case for that player? The agent or the I mean,
Yeah.
I think that what it does
I mean,
is
how do you implement that so that it's effective for the team?
unfortunately, I think when it comes down to that meeting with the coaches when they're talking about, all right, do we keep Dominic on the roster? Well, okay, Dominic is a wide receiver. So Ken's the OC, I'm the DC.
Go LeBron.
Isaac's the special teams coach, and Rob, you're the head coach, right? And you're gonna go, okay, well, he's a wide receiver, so Ken Packer, what do you think? Oh, no, he's like seventh on my depth chart. I don't need him. I'm sitting there going, well, he doesn't affect me. But Isaac's like on special teams, like, okay, the guy's like the best gunner I got. He's solid. I want to keep him. Yeah, but I need these other wide receivers. Ken comes in. I need to keep Mike the Bear fan because if I keep Dominic, I have to cut Mike, and Mike's much more value to me. Okay, you get to keep Mike. Isaac, you get Mike now. And I just going like, what the fuck, dude? I think really they listen to the OCs and DCs, and they say, hey, Isaac, Mr. Coordinator for my special teams, you get whatever we give you. I really think that's what they do because
I think so too.
Yeah.
I know LaFleur thought that way about the special teams a couple of years ago. He didn't have no.
Yeah,
no doesn't.
But the irony is,
I think.
Hey Ken, I will say this: I was wrong, and you were right. He was a little above average. My bad. But
Oh shit, Mike, eating crow.
his longest return last year was 37 yards, but he averaged 27 on kickoff. The year before that, he did do a little better besides his muffs. So
I think
I will say when I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think some players you can't take them off what they're assigned to. Like for instance, the Devin Hester, you can't take him off kick returns because of how dynamic, he changes the course of a game. Or Jacoby Jones or someone like that, or Josh Cribbs. You can't. Even though you want to designate him to a different position that you think he's ready for, like wide receiver, whatever the case may be. That player has a dynamic feel to the game. You can't take him off that position. That's why Devin Hester, as long as he was a Bear or, whichever team, he was going to be a kick returner or a punt returner. You know what I mean? So there's nothing.
Right. Well,
you got something you're good at, stick to it.
Well,
They should just accept it and make it a position, and then it would be something that they would just take account for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
they added the third QB this year. You can have a third QB this following season, so why not? It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Peterman's going to get cut 5 more times.
Yeah.
What is the expectation though for a kick returner on a season? I mean, honestly, what are you talking about? 800 yards and maybe 2-3 touchdowns?
Well, I mean,
so what makes a guy special?
Well, then Bellis is way below average then.
Well, I'm just saying.
I don't think it's necessarily the touchdowns. It's the field position. So, like, the yards after catch. So, like, if he catches the ball on the 20 and he can consistently put you on the 45 or 50 or into.
Well, yeah, that's serious field position.
Right? It's field
midfield
position. It's probably field position more than touchdowns. A guy like Hester, those guys are rare, right? But like Cordell Patterson, when he was in Chicago, starting to show the signs. When he got to Atlanta, all of a sudden he was getting touchdowns. He was getting a big field position. I think it's hard to tell a head coach, hey, look, you just got to make this guy your return guy, because I think they think, well, I got to use him offensively differently. But I think Hester and Cordell Patterson proved that no, you can just make a guy a kick return guy. Because look, there are guys on special teams who are all pros, 10-time all pros, and you hear the name, you're like, really? Isaac was a 10-time all pro, and he's a receiver. He didn't have 1,000-yard seasons. Yeah, he was an all pro as a gunner for 10 years because he's the best gunner in the league. And those guys, they get no love, right? They get no love, and they get no contract, and they're the first to get cut when some shiny new toy comes along. And then when we wonder, like, well, geez, why is our coverage team so shitty? Because you got rid of Isaac. That's why.
Yeah.
Right, but the difference between Hester and Patterson, Hester will play receiver, running back, but he didn't know the position like Cordell Patterson did.
Yeah.
You can
True.
put him in and he can fill pretty much any position and be
Patterson's like Curtis Samuel. He's just a Swiss Army knife. He can do every single position that you put him in. You know,
What they call Cordero Patterson's the Joker. Like, I think that's a stupid name, but like they didn't even use him. Like,
I mean, I get it. We're seeing the duality that you want players who can be Swiss Army knives. I think probably a team that's closer to Rob and I locationally than you guys, being New Orleans has the ultimate guy in that right now, right? Is he a quarterback?
Yeah,
Is he a
Taysom Hill.
receiver? Is he a tight end? Is he a running back?
It's real good to have those guys because it throws off a defense so much. You know what I mean? Especially on a third down situation. You don't know what this guy's going to do. Is he going to line up in the backfield? Is he going to just run a little slant? Is he going to run off the backfield and pass catch? You have to account for that guy at all times.
And that's even though you've seen him,
shaky, you know,
he's like he
can do every position. Fucking Nick.
Only Nick would come up with a comment like that, right? Oh, Jesus. But I mean,
he's in the comments battling.
Yeah, they're having a little battle in there about Devontae and
that's another guy.
But there was a comment in there saying Devontae Adams coming to Green Bay. I don't think that's even possible.
No, he's not coming back.
No, and the Raiders
and he had his chance, bro. We got a whole bunch of new guys.
That's a guy actually. Not talking about Devontae Adams, but that's a guy actually I want Green Bay to get if Commanders ever let him loose. Is Curtis Samuel because he's such a great Swiss Army knife type of player.
He's a super tall dude too.
Yeah, and he's perfect for LaFleur's system. LaFleur loves these two-way guys that can do different positions, and if we can get a Curtis Samuel on our team, that would help our wide receiver room a lot as well. Even though our wide receiver room is growing. A Curtis Samuel type of weapon is a guy that defenses don't really account for. That's why you see him really produce every single season.
He's a big body.
I don't really see him leaving Washington. I mean, they made some good moves in the offseason, and they're literally the number one in cap space right now, so they can do what they want.
But he wants a ring. Come to Green Bay.
It kind of comes to a point, though, and I'm not, this is interesting, just because of Jordan Love, but in general, like we're at that point in the NFC North because I think this is more something you could say. And that it's a cool picture of Anton Winfield Jr. We all know these players get together in the offseason. Hell, Jordan Love and Justin Fields hang out in the offseason.
Yeah, no, they're friends. They're friends. Yeah,
they're friends. So the league has changed in that regard because back in the day, that would have gotten those guys shot by their respective teams. But we're seeing that situation now with the NFC North, though. If you look at Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit specifically, the rosters are pretty good as far as we're going to be bringing people. But then you look at Dom's team, Atlanta in that South. These guys are really, they're the teams we need to watch because the South is anyone's ball game right now. Yeah. Dominic is maybe 2 players away from being division champs. If that, maybe a player away. They could be division champs right now as is, even without a quarterback. That's how that South rolls.
The only 2 teams two different distinct players that won't hang out with each other is Steelers and Ravens. You know what I mean? They just
that's a rivalry right there.
I think the South, though, if you talk about these players that we're talking about, we'd like to see in Chicago and Green Bay. Honestly, Dominic's just sitting back going, yeah, you can think that, but guess what? I got a chance to give them a division title and a ring because I can give them the playoffs a lot easier than you guys can because you have such a competitive division. My division sucks ass so bad. I get 2 or 3 guys. I can walk away with the division. I'm guaranteed a playoff spot. I mean, that has to factor too, doesn't it?
That close.
Yeah, I mean,
that might help you and all, but then once you're in the playoffs, you got to face one of these divisions that's put 2.
Doesn't matter. Look at the New York Giants, 7-9.
Yeah, it don't matter.
They get in at 7-9 and they win the Super Bowl. It doesn't. See, that's another fallacy. It's
it's all about
getting season doesn't matter once you get in the playoffs. You get the playoffs a whole new season.
It's a reset. That's the basic reset button, man, right there.
What's the saying? Any given Sunday.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday, any given day.
Yeah.
Because we play on Thursdays and Mondays these days.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The best thing is once
Saturdays.
you get in the playoffs, everybody's record is 0-0.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I mean, look, if you would have gone based off the regular season to let's say the Packers-Niners game, based off regular season, it was like, 49ers for sure, easy. It's going to be, they should win by 3 scores. But then you go to the actual playoffs, and it's a oh my God, last possession wins kind of scenario almost.
Yeah, but even Dallas, they were the number 2 seed, the best offense in the league, and we spanked them, man. We destroyed them.
You know what it is too? Another thing is, I gotta say, is it kind of hinders you being a team on a bye week. You know what I mean? Because this team that is playing, even though they're tired, they're in stride, right? They're in game shape. Going game to game. So almost like you're being rewarded as a wild card team going in against these teams on the bye, because these teams on the bye, all they're doing is practicing, maybe sitting on the couch, maybe going to a restaurant, having a beer.
I mean, you always hear the argument, Isaac, that they get to heal, but I think you're right. I think if they don't not playing the game, some rust gets there.
That's on the coach, though, ain't it? Ain't that on the coach to keep your team prepared?
It is, but I mean, the best preparation's playing in that, and that's. I mean, look at a great example actually. Look at Houston last year, right? They win a playoff game. Then they go in, they play against Baltimore, who was on the bye. And that first half, at the end of the first half, it's a 10-10 tie. And you're talking about a team that throughout the whole season, like coming into playoffs, I thought the Ravens were on a whole different planet than everyone else. Like they were like there was like the best, and then Baltimore 10,000 stories above everyone else.
Especially how they ate the Lions alive, and then they went
and the Niners
Cisco alive. You know what I mean? It looked like they were the team on the cusp to win it all, but it didn't happen that way.
So I mean, Dominic is sitting
Seen it before.
But Dominic is sitting there listening to us talk about the Packers and the Bears, just going, "Yeah, guys, but guess what? My division sucks so bad. I got a bunch of teams that don't know what the hell they're doing. I got Carolina in my division, for crying out loud. If I get a halfway decent quarterback, I'm in the playoffs, and I'm having the playoffs. I can go to the Super Bowl. So when it comes to Antoine Winfield Jr., I might have a better chance of getting him because I have a better shot to the playoffs. And the players know that because our division is going to be tough. I mean, there's going to be 3 teams competing for 2 to 3. Maybe 3 will get in from the North. I don't know, but let's say we send 2. There's at least 3 teams that I could say with confidence will be battling for those spots. And one team that I think if they can fix their quarterback, actually have a quarterback on the roster, I guess, then they could be in that conversation too, that being Minnesota. Because we all learned last year not to write Minnesota off, because we all did. And Minnesota, if Kirk Cousins doesn't go down to the playoffs. So the black and blue division is not going to be, it's not a guarantee if you're a Lion, a Packer, or a Bear that you're going to the playoffs next year. Only one of those teams might get in, or 2 of them might get in. Maybe all 3 get in, or maybe the Vikings say, "Guess what, guys? Ha ha! We win the division. None of you make the playoffs." I mean, who knows with this division? That's the point. He doesn't have that problem in the South, man. He's got the Saints.
You've got Baker Mayfield though in the South, and that's going to be fun to get past.
He's resurgent. I'm not gonna lie about that. Like he's got he got a swag back, I guess you could say. I don't like that word, but he got it back.
What about New Orleans? They haven't gone anywhere. I mean, they were a threat to you guys this year. But they're gonna chase that up again, bro. They're just one good quarterback away from being a decent team. They got good running game, good wide receivers, good defense.
The Saints need trouble with cap space. They're like in debt.
80 mil.
Oh, are they? That's their problem.
Yeah.
Okay. See, there's always a reason for why someone's where they're at, but
Nola, though, is another one of those teams. Like they would show up one week and be really good, and the next week they wouldn't. Carr was good.
Too inconsistent. Too
inconsistent. And part of that was Carr was inconsistent. Like he's got good weapons, but even his weaponry wasn't consistent. Whatever their problem was in Nola last year, personnel-wise, I think they probably have the people. They're paying them some big contracts, right?
Thomas didn't like him.
They need to control the contracts a little better, because I can understand being a little in debt, but $83 million, I can't go to the store and want to get $1,000 item for $100. That's
right.
Not
I haven't
That's a
heard
lot,
that yet.
bro. There's a lot of guys going to get cut from them.
83.6 to be exact.
Damn.
But yeah, that's a lot of money to be in debt. So I feel like
Yeah.
the NFL should be able to control that. a lot.
How did they get so
They're gonna-
deep?
Are we going to say they're going to lose the whole fucking team?
Yeah, how they get so deep? Who they paying that's ripping them
Well,
off? Camara?
They're
Thomas,
paying
Contract.
Derek Carr.
Thomas,
Yeah.
Thomas,
Mathis,
Carr,
Standard
Olave. They got a lot of.
Olave,
Kamara.
he's on his rookie contract, isn't he?
No, well, you got Carr at almost 36 million. You got Ryan Ramczyk
They pay him a lot of money. Holy
million. Cameron Jordan's at 20.
Yeah, Cam Jordan's on that
Elvin
team still.
Kamara's at 18
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
running back. He's getting paid.
Yeah. Well, but he was their he was their scat back for everything for a while, 3 down back.
True.
Yeah,
and what's crazy on most of the contracts that I said, you are not cutting them because the dead cap space is just outrageous. The best,
Well, I don't know. I might cut Kamara. His ass can't stay out of trouble
You got to reconstruct some of those contracts.
for sure.
Nick,
Holy
Nick.
cow!
That's pretty funny.
It will be called the Saints.
I mean, you know, it's the Saints just have some great players. You know, I think what they need to do,
Yeah.
honestly, is trade Tyson Hill. Like, I know he's their Swiss Army knife. The guy can do everything. His trade value, though, to certain teams would be phenomenal. Right?
I
And
don't
he's
think
sitting-
they'd get much of trade value out of
and
him.
he's
huh?
sitting
He's
six
old.
on their books. He's getting top 6 of the whole team. He's above Thomas.
Yeah.
Wow.
He-
Or
you know what,
above
though?
Michael Thomas.
He's worth it, though, for what
Nah,
he does.
like he can do everything, but not
He
like
does
that.
everything. But you know what, though? It's
But
not
does
that
he do
doesn't-
everything great?
Well, no, that's just it. It's not that he doesn't.
No,
It's not.
I have
he does.
Exactly.
No.
He does. Well, yes and no. He does everything but throw the ball great.
He's
As
a
a
cheap
quarterback-
Cordell Patterson. What
As
do
a
you mean?
quarterback, no, as a
Just that he
quarterback,
doesn't throw the ball great.
as a quarterback, he's okay. But I mean, and look, he can complete a nice pass, right? And when they pick their moments to have him throw, and he's okay.
But
But
what-
it's everything else that guy does for that offense. If you need a
He's a-
tight end, he's a tight end. You need a receiver, he's a receiver. If
True,
you need a
but he's
running
a
back, he's a
backup.
running back.
He was the same as James. I mean, those guys are like equal. Jameis Winston. I mean, to me, they're the same.
Yeah, we're very familiar with Taysom Hill. Guess whose team he was who was on?
Yeah, he was ours. He was on ours.
Yeah.
They poached him. They poached him during cuts.
But is a
Well, I mean-
backup worth $16 million?
For what I think, yes, Mike, for what he does for that team and what he
He's
did
like
that
the
team,
he's
he is.
slash. He's slash. He's Cordell Stewart.
15, 16
Yeah.
million dollars. You got to be a starter. You can back
Yep.
up other positions. Don't get me wrong. He can play anywhere on the field, but he is not a starter.
No.
You know, Mike, you bring up a good conversation though. With all the half the QBs that went down this year, the backup market pretty much raised up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
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 Flacco should be the president of that club.
Right.
Picture just him on the couch with a
Not,
beer.
not
chilling.
by as much as we're talking about. Like 16 million is a little rough, but I'm just saying the backup quarterback market is raising up a little bit more because we've seen what happens when starting quarterbacks go down and what team flourishes and what team doesn't. You know,
I mean, I would
just
also
don't
wager
think
that
he's worth
Tyson.
6 top
Well,
money on the team. That's
But
all
Mike, I would tell you that Tyson Hill is the reason why they are as good as they are.
Yeah.
I mean,
he
he
is
does
the reason.
all right. I don't
Like,
know. Just
he
the
is-
money to me.
for
You
the
got half the
Saints-
team making less the money, and they're starting.
But for Tyson, for the Saints, Tyson Hill is him.
Sorry, I
He
got
is him.
you on the name Taysom.
Taysom, whatever.
My mistake. I say it wrong all the time.
Yes, but he is the guy. I mean, he's also
Yeah.
probably the smartest guy in the room. This guy has to be in every meeting. He's in the running back meeting, the wide receiver meeting, the tight end meeting, the
Yeah.
quarterback meeting, the special teams meeting. I mean,
He
the guy is.
misses meetings.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. What Hill's done as a player, he will be a coach somewhere.
He wears like 3 hats, so he's worth the money,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean,
General trades.
it's everything that he does.
Oh, wow.
I didn't hear that joke. I
What?
heard just the opposite. That
The
they're
Bucks,
going to-
Joe,
That would be
how you got this ear to the ground, Joe? Where's your info coming from?
Hey, Joe, the Raiders better be knocking on that door then.
Hey, Joe heard that on Tinder. Wait, I'm sorry.
He
Joe was
swiped
at Grinder.
He swiped left.
Okay, he heard on RaiderGrinder.com is what he heard it on.
Fucking Joe.
Damn it, Joe.
But no, I mean, but look at, I feel bad for Baker because, well, actually, I don't feel bad. I feel great for Baker because he went to Cleveland and said, "You should have kept me, you jackasses."
Yeah, someone's going to sign him. If they don't re-sign him, he's going to sign somewhere else, man. He had a very good season.
Oh yeah, Baker really.
You got to prove it was a good season, though. You got to reprove.
Okay, but you got to let him. You got to let him play. Give him a second year, and then if he doesn't show, then.
But most players talk too much for the money, because once they make that money, then they don't show up.
Well,
I've seen it happen a bunch of times with our team.
As I look back to the hill, I kind of got to give it. He had 1,000 total yards, 400 passing, 400 receiving.
What did it do for
rushing, and the other 200 was.
And Mike also not just his yards, but when he enters the game, he's such a focus that's how Kamara gets some of his yards. That's how he opens up. When he comes in the game, coordinators are like,
true, and he can stay healthy. He's only missed 4 games out of his career, and it all happened in 2020, I think it was.
Look at the Bucks team. The Bucks team was actually pretty talented. Like Mike Evans, Godwin, Rashard White. You know what I mean? In defense, you got guys like Devin White, Levante David. You know what I mean? Vita Vea. So I mean, the team is talented.
David's getting up there though in age.
But I mean, Baker just showed though what we already knew from when he was in Cleveland, that he's a good quarterback. Because he did it in Cleveland. So it's not like
he's decent for sure.
So yeah, Dom, it's not like we haven't seen Baker be Baker before. We have, and then Cleveland was snorting coke and meth in the men's room and decided to go get a sex offender that was going to miss 10 games to a full season on a wrap from the NFL. Right? I mean, the injury you couldn't predict, but they knew that they were going to be out without Deshaun Watson, and they still went and got him, and they had a guy who took them to the playoffs for the first time in forever. I mean, Cleveland. Cleveland just messed up. They should have just kept Baker, and they would be a much better team right now.
Cleveland's not the best example of quarterbacks. So you seen that one jersey where they have a list of quarterbacks. That one person customized the jersey and has like 15 quarterbacks. That Cleveland.
Oh yeah, that's a Cleveland Browns right there.
Yeah, but Baker did play well. And I can't say much because we get a quarterback all the time, new, old. Now we're going.
I mean, what if Baker was the quarterback for the Falcons? Would that put you guys over the top?
Probably. And they got Ritter.
Yeah, I want to Baker, but Ritter's. I saw Ritter's numbers a couple days ago. Terrible. They were terrible.
Yeah, Joe.
So Joe has a source.
I don't know, Joe. It's more so.
Clickbait.
He's back. He's back walking it. He's walking it back now. He's like, it doesn't make sense.
With Mike Evans, I haven't heard anything about Baker. I look at the NFC South news every day.
His source was his regular at the ranch. The ranch he goes out to in Vegas. One of those ranches. That was his source.
Yeah, that's the thing about off season. It sucks because you see so many different sources, clickbait writers. Like, there's even a fan-sided writer. You know what I mean? That's saying.
Yeah. No, everybody wants you to click their shit, man. That's what it is.
Yep, sources have word that Evans is included in the Chiefs organization, so look out for that.
Joe's a faithful man. Look, Nick knows about what you're talking about.
Yeah, Joe. We need to get Joe. We need to get Joe on here and talk some Raiders here too, because the Raiders are another team that's interesting with Pierce now being the head coach, which I think is phenomenal. Joe, why don't you come on, join us one day?
Joe's in favor. Joe, we talked to Joe a lot. He's totally in favor of the new coach.
Joe, get on here Thursday.
He's a fucking homer. He's a Raider homer. That guy.
Joe's great if you come on. Like Dominic has to take Thursday off because he's got his stuff. But Thursday morning. Hop on with us. We'll talk some Raiders football on Thursday, guys. We're coming up on we're almost out of time here. Awesome. Yeah, we'll send you a link, dude. Yep. Make sure we get you on here. We're about out of time for today. Great show as always, guys. Also, everyone, don't forget, go see Mike the Bear fan. Go see Bill the Packer fan. Go to Ken Packer News. Like us on Facebook. Like us on YouTube. We will be on Roku. This show will be on Roku next Monday morning. The Frozen Tundra and House Hall, of course, being on Roku on Saturday. Sunday, and Monday, all 3 days between the two shows. But until tomorrow morning, guys, for the entire panel, have a great Tuesday morning, and